Join us for a truly unique omakase at Hirohisa, a 1 Michelin star restaurant here in New York City in the SoHo neighborhood. A few points to highlight at the start. Number one, I'm not an omakase expert by any means. I've only been to a handful of them. Previously, Sushi Asuda in Midtown, which is excellent. Most recently, we went to Shin East in the East Village. Also fantastic, much more approachable and affordable spot. We're doing a video on that one coming soon, so make sure you subscribe. With that being said, I'm trying to be as accurate as possible, but if I make a mistake, don't go crazy, but just let me know in the comments. Hirohisa has a seasonal menu and it changes monthly. We went in September of 2024. So right now, I'm filming this at the end of October, early November. The menu is going to evolve and change, which also makes this place really exciting and fun. But make sure you check the menu in advance before you go. The third thing I would highlight is that there are common elements that stay true month to month, even with the change of menus. This is not a traditional omakase in the sense that you're going to be served assorted sashimi the entire night. You're going to have a 2.5 hour experience, and it's a set chef tasting menu from warm to cold to fish to meat, soups. It runs the gamut, and it ends with dessert, which is beautiful. The restaurant also offers a sake pairing for $120 per person. We elected not to do it this time, unlike in other videos that we've done about Restaurant Danielle and 11 Madison Park. With that intro out of the way, let's get into the omakase experience at Hirohisa. Stay tuned to the end for a final rating. Let's start with the entrance. It's discreet, speakeasy style. If you're not looking for a large wooden door with nondescript signage, you're probably not going to find it. Once you enter, you're greeted by this pristine, minimalist environment. Clean and organized waiting area at the front. There's only one window that I could find in the whole space, which was also at the front, but it didn't matter because everything was so warm and inviting with all of the different wood tones, the exposed brick on the wall that really gave it a good SoHo vibe. We were seated at the chef's table seats where we could see all of the action. Chef was preparing our first course when we walked in. We were about 5 minutes early, but most people get here right on time because they don't want to miss any part of the experience. Everyone is served together, so if you are a little late, they're just going to move on without you. People aren't going to wait. So make sure that you go a little early, but at the very latest, be on time. We started with some sake, a carafe of the Soeya Matsumoto Junmai. Very soft and refreshing, the perfect start. Before the first course, they gave us an amuse-bouche. I wasn't exactly sure what it was, but I knew on the very top, couldn't mistake the uni, or as some might call, sea urchin. One of my favorite Japanese delicacies. It was a delicious and balanced beginning to our meal. Next up, the steamed abalone, which we saw a chef preparing as we walked in. It had a gelatinous topping which made for an especially refreshing finish. One of my first impressions was how calm the experience was. I'm not sure if this is the case for every omakase. It hasn't always been for the few that I've been to, but the full kitchen here was on display. There wasn't a back room that I could see, but everything was so calm. There was no loud talking, certainly no yelling, barely any talking whatsoever between the wait staff and the chefs. Everybody just kind of knew where the other person was going to be positioned, and it worked just like an orchestra, with the chef being the maestro. It was incredible to watch. Then came the duck croquette, which was one of my favorite dishes of the night. And it's one of those dishes that you're not going to find at your typical omakase restaurant that's primarily sashimi and fish focused, but it was so savory and satisfying. Inside, the duck was cooked soft and tender. The outside crust had a great texture, but it wasn't too much to be overpowering, just enough though to add a nice crunch. Great sauce, balanced flavors, overall a very excellent dish. Next came a cleansing course, owan soup. It was a great palate cleanser before moving to the assorted sashimi, a more traditional course for omakase. This was an assorted grouping of white fish. They were lighter, but melted in our mouths. You could just taste the quality of the seafood. And all the while, the chefs just continue to work calmly, quietly, and tirelessly. Then the unagi shirayaki arrived. There were two types. On the left was unagi that was soft and soaked in soy sauce. On the right-hand side was unagi that was smoked, both served with wasabi and salt. This was my favorite course of the evening. It was a beautiful side-by-side way of experiencing unagi. Then came a heavy hitter that, again, you don't find at a traditional omakase, but was incredible for the experience here, and that's ribeye. For $25 extra, we could have ordered a supplement of Wagyu beef, but ribeye is my favorite cut of meat. My wife really enjoys it too. And look at how perfectly they cooked this, pink and rare. The intensity of the flavor of the meat, really well done. Great sauce too. For the subsequent rice dish, we were given a choice: tilefish, salmon belly, anago tempura, or uni. I couldn't miss the uni, so I went with that even though it cost $30 extra. My wife went with the salmon belly. Both were fantastic and well executed. My wife was very happy. In both dishes, as I say with most sushi restaurants and especially omakases, you can often judge the quality by the quality of the rice. And in this case, the rice was soft, it had a clear texture to it, and crunch. It wasn't mushy at all. Very well done. I also appreciated that the dish came with a soup palate cleanser as well. At this point, we thought we were done with all of the main courses, but, which I love about the best Michelin star restaurants, they surprise you. The surprise and delight, which is something I criticize 11 Madison Park for getting away from doing. Even if it's something simple like soba noodles, the noodles were soaked in a sesame oil type dressing. They asked us if we were still full or if we wanted the noodles. I was like, of course I want the noodles. And I was surprised actually not everybody in the restaurant accepted it. Always accept the surprise. The sesame sauce just brought out the flavor in the soba noodles. We then had tea before our dessert course. An apple custard mousse cake, perfect for the fall season, and a glorious end to a glorious evening. In conclusion, I would give Hirohisa a 9.3 out of 10. The food was flawless from my perspective, but the service needed a little bit of help here and there. Nothing major, but one issue was one of the servers, we could barely hear him, even though the restaurant was pretty intimate and quiet. He just didn't really project when he was describing the dishes, and we had to ask him to repeat himself a couple of times. Nothing major, as I said. The only other minor issue that we had with the service was one of our dishes, I think, got mixed up when we ordered one of the supplements, and we had to wait while the rest of the restaurant ate one of their courses. So we were basically a course behind, but we only had to wait for about 10 minutes, maybe. So it wasn't that big of a deal. Oftentimes restaurants will comp you a little something to tide you over. Hirohisa didn't do that. Not a big deal. When you're critiquing a Michelin star restaurant, there's usually not much you can critique them on, and that's certainly the case with Hirohisa. It's an incredible overall experience, but you know, these little things are maybe what separates this restaurant from more well-regarded omakase experiences in the city. But with all that being said, I would definitely go back to Hirohisa. I would certainly recommend it if you're looking for an intimate, romantic, fun, and wonderful omakase experience over 2.5 hours. But in an upcoming video, I will do a more affordable and approachable omakase spot. Hirohisa is a little expensive. Our dinner for two with only 2 carafes of sake was a little over $600. So keep that in mind. But that's certainly cheaper than some very pricey omakases in New York City. Really appreciate you guys tuning in and watching this. I hope it was informative and fun. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.